Welcome to Deloitte Dreams. The title for the session today is Upgrading to SAP S/4HANA. Salesforce front office can accelerate your sales and B2B commerce growth. Before we begin, as a reminder, this session is being recorded and your participation serves as your express consent. Additionally, we'd like to hear questions from the audience. Please drop your questions into the Q&A or comments, and we'll try to get it to as many as possible today during the discussion. And if we can't, we'll follow up with you post-event for those that weren't covered. So to start off, we want to start off with a series of introductions of the people on the panel. So to start off, my colleague, Leor.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate your time. My name is Leor Bachar. I'm a principal at Deloitte with Deloitte Digital. I've been focusing on digital solution, commerce, marketing, customer engagement for the past 10 years, and looking forward to discuss with you some insights we got from the field and answer any questions you might have today.
Paul Forno. I'm a managing director as part of Deloitte Digital. I've been doing digital transformations for over 20 years and excited to share some stories. Gerald?
Hi, this is Gerald, Schlechter, CTO and co-founder of Enosix. Thanks for having me. Like Paul, over 20 years in the SAP space, helping SAP companies enabling their engagement systems and integrating data and their business processes to world-class engagement tools.
And I'm Andy Peebler, Vice President of Strategy at Salesforce Commerce Cloud, also been in the commerce industry for too long to admit, but really excited to be here. Thank you so much, Paul and Leor, for having me, and I'm excited to dig into this topic today.
Great. Awesome panel today. So we're going to drive into this. And the focus for today is really about digital acceleration. All of the businesses right now are driving for results, new business results, but it's an integrated ecosystem. So really thinking about how best to drive that acceleration. And so if we look at the business landscape today, you look at, there's many transformations that are happening. When you look at the move to digital technologies that just got accelerated because of COVID, companies are investing incredible amounts of money into these systems because of the payoff. And not only are they looking for business results, the way to get those business results is really driving an enhanced customer engagement and creating an engagement so that it's easier to do business with. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more depth. When we look at the front office and back office, many companies have already made that journey and have started down and leveraged SAP, but many companies have bought and acquired many different companies throughout the world and might have lots of different instances. And so now what you see quite a bit, SAP S4 is best in class, is one of the largest ERP vendors that is bringing together all of these systems and driving the operational back office. And if you look at the front office, there's a lot of options out there. And really the focus of the front office is how to drive that customer experience, the sales, the commerce, and driving such that you connect better with your customer. And we've done at Deloitte, we've done research on listening to the point of view of many of the problem areas. So this is a word cloud that summarizes tons of interviews that we've done over time, and we've listened to some of their pain points. Can't track orders, hard to do business with, can't look up data, data's not in sync. These are things that we hear over and over and over, And many times this just because of, like we said before, many of these companies acquire different instances or legacy systems that never have time to get upgraded. And so all of these drive friction in working with companies. And so that is the big challenge in helping, to increase the engagement on the front office. And so when we look at the front office, we want to look at a much more integrated view. And the integrated view, we look at this journey from lead to loyalty. And if you see, we have the customer at the center, right? And so we want to make sure that as you think about this journey, it's integrated, that the data's shared, that you don't have to go from system to system and re-enter information, that you make it aligned to the processes that you're used to, how you supplement your salespeople, you make their lives easier all along this journey, and that you use the data to drive that engagement. And so that is that whole holy grail from a process perspective of what you want to look at from that front office journey and driving that loyalty over time. And when you look at these systems and pulled all together, B2B commerce is the glue that connects the dots across all that front office, from the leads to the orders to the products to the follow-on service. B2B commerce and digital commerce is at the center to support that whole journey. Now, we're going to transition. Leor is going to talk a little bit about the technical landscape. Leor?
Thanks, Paul. So again, it probably doesn't come as a surprise when working with our clients who are looking to upgrade ERP. Those tend to be larger clients and a larger technical footprint. We found that those clients happen to be, most of the time, they've been leveraging a varied set of technologies and platforms over the years. Whether this was because they had a strategy around best of breed, or because through mergers or expansions, our clients find themselves having to decide whether to leverage single stack approach or look for integrated ecosystem as we think about the upgrade process. Obviously, this decision can be very complex, both technically and probably more importantly, politically. And choices that you make will depend on what is your digital strategy, availability of in-house skills, your budgets, standard guidelines that you have developed, management priorities, among other factors. We're not going to dive into platform comparison today or debate the merits of single stack or integrated ecosystems. Those can be lengthy and very heated debate. We're really looking at scenarios where we see more and more frequently in the marketplace. Clients have centered around SAP as their ERP platform, and now looking to take advantage, as Paul mentioned, of the new capabilities, the performance throughput, and other features that offered by the S/4HANA HANA upgrade. We also find out that for many of those clients, tend to have the CRM solution on a different platform, tend to be on a Salesforce ecosystem. They might have it already in the past, or looking to deploy other Salesforce clouds, whether it's marketing or sales or services for various needs and business prioritization. So these clients are looking to expand the footprint of Salesforce to take advantage of what we call the front office capabilities. And in order to drive, as Paul mentioned, to drive rapid wins and capabilities while the upgrade process is taking place. Let me cover some of those capabilities next. When clients look at the Salesforce to address the front office, to drive rapid solution implementation and quick wins, they're really looking to take advantage of what is called Salesforce focus on what's called Customer 360. The ability of the Salesforce ecosystem to construct and focus around customer journeys, profile, preferences, history of transactions across the organization. depending on your specific business model, you might look at one or more of those Salesforce clouds, whether you're using sales, services, commerce. All of these are centered around the core customer data model and most likely aligned with specific industry focus. That gives the companies opportunities to take advantage of deeper and more engaging user interactions, as well as we mentioned, rapid access to transactions and wins. SAP is obviously not being idle either. The platform is becoming richer and richer and has more powerful. SAP is providing more and more robust front office capabilities. And now, obviously, they have been vigorously adopting the cloud-based architecture. So some of those lines begin to blur or continue to blur between what is offered in the front office and the back office. Nevertheless, the SAP upgrades are large projects. They are very complex, especially in large organizations, international organizations, and they take longer. They require a lot more hand-holding and alignment, technically in business way. Therefore, we see clients looking to extend the use of Salesforce front office technologies, take advantage of the ability to really implement a rapid solution that is focused on customer engagement, provide the front office capabilities around commerce, where we see a lot of that because that's provide quick wins and revenue, while the project itself deals with the more advanced capabilities that SAP for S/4HANA provides. One of the capabilities of the Salesforce Office obviously extend beyond what I have in the slide here. I'm going to ask Andy to provide more details around the front office capabilities. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Leor, and thanks for the great kind of introduction and backdrop of kind of B2B commerce here at Salesforce. And, I'd like to take a few moments to kind of explain a little bit about kind of the vision and history behind B2B commerce here at Salesforce. And to get that started, I think we'll talk about the clouds that Salesforce offers. Of course, we're really proud of the fact that we have the world's #1 CRM and have built that into a really robust business. And many people know a lot about our different clouds, from sales, service, marketing, et cetera. And what's so powerful about the Salesforce platform is that we're able to unify these critical engagement touch points, whether it's marketing kinds of flows, service flows, commerce and digital self-service flows. All of those things are supported with a common data model behind the scenes on these clouds. So not only are we giving you a full 360-degree view of your customer, regardless of where they're at, if they're new, but a long-term customer, or somebody that is looking to maybe change how they do business with you. Really broadly across all of those interactions, we've got you covered in terms of being able to model and execute and give your teams a really powerful execution platform so they can move. What that also has meant over the years is that a lot of companies have recognized that this architecture allows some degree of decoupling between the front office and the back office. Now, companies have needs to do that for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's because of acquisitions, where you're buying up other companies with different back-end ERPs, and in order to achieve the savings, you really have to combine ERPs, and that kind of becomes an all-consuming effort. And so you're faced with a choice: do I not do anything else while I integrate these ERPs, or do we kind of decouple and try to move forward with some customer-facing activity? It also happens when companies are faced with decisions like big upgrades to SAP in the back end. And, there too, you've got some choices to make. How do we accomplish this important and critical infrastructure task that's going to give us so many benefits without, having to basically stay still for a year or more while we fine tune the modeling, all of that. So this Salesforce platform gives us a tremendous advantage because we do have the ability to really cleanly integrate, and Gerald will be talking about some awesome ways to do that, make it even easier than you might imagine. But it also allows us then to move forward and give your customers both digital self-service around reorders and even complex configuration of products, but also support those customers with seller-based activities to support your salespeople with our Revenue Cloud and CPQ, supporting your service center desk, because again, they're going to have access to the same products and data that are in B2B commerce. And so we can take service orders more seamlessly. Customers can, of course, get status of any order, regardless of where they placed it. If they placed it with your rep in the back end, or through EDI or whatever, using Salesforce as that kind of system of engagement across your reps, across whatever, really gives you a whole end-to-end revenue lifecycle ability to manage and run within the Salesforce platform. And I think that's really important. And it's important for a couple of reasons. First of all, as Paul and Leor sort of illustrated earlier, we know that B2B commerce and digital self-service is a total top priority for manufacturers and other B2B companies this year. It's just coming out in just about every survey we do, every survey our friends from Deloitte do, et cetera. But it's also important to remember that right in those very same surveys, while B2B buyers talk about how they need digital self-service and that's a high priority for them, these same buyers also say that they really want to talk to sales reps. They also talk about how they need to use the commerce system to do research for products that they want to actually purchase with a seller. So, that's one of the, traditional complexities of rolling out B2B commerce is that, it's eminently possible to provide pretty robust self-service websites, but it's hard to do that in a way that you're actually keeping your salespeople in the loop, you're keeping your service center with you, that you keep prices, product, all the information, the customer consistent and accessible to every participant. That's the huge advantage of the Salesforce platform. We can cover transformation and deliver real results across all these platforms just faster than would otherwise be possible, because once you get your integration set, the products that people are allowed to buy, any rules of engagement, et cetera, you can serve that customer from every single channel. It also pays off in a big way because it gives you the ability to sort of transform at the customer segment level. So if we've got this system of engagement on the core Force platform, we don't have to upend how you deal with products and price for every single customer segment at once. In fact, that's not even necessarily the best practice. It gives us the opportunity to target individual segments of your customers because we know who they are, they're in CRM, and start to introduce transformation kind of segment by segment or region by region. You've got a lot of opportunity to control the pacing of how this transformation works. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more background in why we're so excited about B2B commerce, because it's really, as Paul said, not just the self-serve part. It comes along with a lot of great transformation across all the channels. And frankly, it's really the only way you should be thinking about it. You got to keep your sellers and your service staff and all the internal people that support these customers on the same page if you're going to drive a really enduring transformation.
So we've discussed opportunity. Next, we'd like to share with you kind of a couple areas around how we help our clients in this situation, both on what we call a business accelerator and what we call a technical accelerator. Again, we're not going to cover everything under the sun, but we want to focus on a couple key ones that we've seen being the most impactful. So let me start with the business accelerator. When we talk about business accelerator, really, what we are talking about is tools such as, again, apologize for the commercial, for something we call Deloitte Cloud for Manufacturing. So Cloud for M, or Cloud for Manufacturing, is an integrated solution or tool that incorporates industry-focused intellectual property, such as includes core processes, user engagement model, data models that focus on a specific industry and the like. One way we utilize Cloud for M is to ability to quickly share and evolve a vision with the client. It's a vision about a future state to make sure stakeholders all align with the goals of the project. As mentioned by both Paul and Andy, this is very useful while the upgrade process happens in the background. It can be decoupled from those activities. Clients then can quickly view what the customer journey will look like. They can use the flows we include as a standard or as a starting point to address their specific business need. From a technical perspective, the tools includes data models, pre-built flexible integration framework, which we'll talk more about, pre-built analytics and insights. All of those tools kind of help with the starting point, a vision casting, we call it, with clients. We happen to choose Salesforce Cloud as a technical engine for this solution. We also include other technologies, either because Salesforce did not include it in their focus areas or because of the competitive landscape. The main point is really the impact of this accelerator like that, being industry focused and have pre-built solution for stakeholders to view. By looking at that, the accelerator is very powerful. The tool helps to speed up what we call the discovery phase for those who are familiar with the agile project methodology. It drives much deeper alignment with the various stakeholders. In turn, these requirements then help to be prioritized in much more confidence level, which ultimately leads to accelerate development. Again, we're talking about solutions that will help to speed up the process to go to market and involve customer engagement while the more robust back-end upgrade is taking place.
Leor, if I may, I just want to kind of double click on this accelerator piece, because the other thing with in particular your cloud for manufacturing, calling it an accelerator in some ways undersells the capabilities, because I know the work you put into building this, and it's not just sort of like a quick demo asset or an ability to get to prototyping. From an R&D perspective, and Salesforce is on a hand to contribute to that, what you've actually done is really incorporated the vast majority of capabilities that Deloitte and Salesforce recommend you launch with. And that's useful beyond just the project acceleration is great. Everybody loves fast time to market and much lower budgets and lower risk. Great, those are awesome. I tell you though, where it pays off big is for all those companies that are really sorting out like what to do for their initial phase. And that's a common challenge. Lots of this transformation is new, and there's not always a one size fits all answer. But these accelerators actually give you a really, really good clue, especially if you kind of bear in mind that they're the result of a lot of research, across the industry, and give you a great guidepost for like where to start. So it can accelerate and streamline in more ways than even what we're talking about here. And it really is a wonderful foundation.
No, I appreciate it, Andy. Absolutely. And beyond that, as we mentioned, the project pieces of it, it helps to kind of create and inform the roadmap for the project to take place over multiple releases and drive better adoption both internally and externally. And just like Andy mentioned, like any other good tool, Cloud for M continues to evolve, incorporate new insights and new tools and new processes. One of the things we always keep including in this solution is additional tools. And one specific tool I'd like to talk more about is around the area which we found the most complex and usually the longest pole in those projects implementations, which is around the integration. So I'm going to turn the screen to Gerald to talk about new tools we already have now baked into Cloud for M. Gerald?
Thanks, Leor. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Paul. Like you set this perfectly up, right? We have a world-class platform for a connected customer experience. We have world-class accelerators that are more than accelerators for specific industries. And the last piece, as Leor just said, is how do we feed all that with data out of the SAP system that's needed to perform sales consultants, your distributors, building an accelerator that's purpose-built, a platform, and Deloitte with a lot of business scenarios from sales, service, commerce, community, and so on. And the way we do that is we purpose-built the front-end components so that they fit like a glove into the force.com stack, and we purpose-built their back-end components with SAP so that both integration layers are native to their components. So they speak natively with each other, and there is no disruption on technology anymore. And that's really the key why it can be so unified working together. One point I think, Leor, that you talked about is as well, working on ECC now, while you do the transformation to S/4HANA, right? That's not going to be a 1 month, 2 months project. That's a while, and companies might take certain segments, as Andy pointed out, of the business. So we really enable as well. You can work today already on ECC, and we have already a pre-built move to S/4HANA because our framework, our integration, our pre-built scenarios work on ECC and S/4HANA and are certified for both. So that's a technical shift and not a build again. And that's a huge advantage when we talk to our customers and saying, hey, no, you don't need to wait for the next 2 years. You can start on ECC today, have a world-class engagement system, have a connected enterprise system for the front office to serve your customers and your salespeople and increase revenue while you're doing the migration, and then slowly move over components to S/4HANA as well, because we can run in parallel. And that's a thing. That's, I think, is a huge accelerator. We'll show a quick video about a couple of common use cases, and we'll talk then later as well about the acceleration, what that means. But this is prepackaged, so we're talking about typically weeks of implementation to UAT typically, and not months or years until we see something. Like actually in a couple of days, you can talk with the business users and show them live data. Let's go to the video, please. Let me showcase a couple of real examples where we get a huge ROI out of those prepackaged integration scenarios on top of Deloitte's C4M and Salesforce Commerce. One that's all the time needed and all the time wanted is enabling more self-service, like getting calls off the call centers, enabling customers to look up their past history and orders. So this is a huge advantage with Enosix, where we have tight integration to your backend and can surface on the front end and into B2B environment any order out of SAP, if that's coming through EDI or manual input or OCR, does not matter. We can in real time enable your customers to see order detail. This is highly customizable, obviously, and even go down into line item details, see condition types if that's accepted and set up. But most important, what I find is, where is my delivery? Where is my tracking information? When does it get shipped? All that information I want to see on my mobile device when I'm on the go. I want to check that on the weekend and not needing to call into a call center and then have them give me the information manually. So that self-service piece can literally be enabled within a week or two with UAT and go live. Ties direct in Deloitte C4M as well, and takes a lot of the call volume of the customer. So that's typically the first use case that we see with the biggest ROI. Very quick implementation, a lot of impact for organization because customers don't need to call in anymore and they can self-service where their orders are. The second one is typically, how do I get product information out of SAP? How do I get ATP and pricing out of SAP so that people don't need to call in, that even a sales rep can do real-time quoting or a customer can self-service, go in and see their specific prices and see availabilities when this is available. Obviously, that's huge for spare part environment and spare part industry for distributors and service agents that need parts and part pricing and want to check that out online as well. And then as a next one, obviously, the basket information when I place the order. Can I then execute on the order, and does it end up in SAP automatically as well? I don't need to go through all the details here, but obviously we have real-time access to any of the ship tools. So when that changes in the backend, on the account. If somebody updates that information, it flows seamlessly to the front end. I don't have to worry about data synchronization or data maintenance. And then tax information gets calculated as well. So that's typically the third piece that we see that gets the ROI to then actually submitting the order in SAP in real time and having that order again available in a customer 360-degree view on the B2B site as well. Here a screen where it ends up in the SAP order without any interference, and it can immediately be shipped. If I click into the details, I see already a delivery triggered on the SAP side. So the customer all the time has that customer 360-degree view, knows where the product is, knows where it is in process. And that's obviously a huge ROI, because this is all enlightening. This is highly scalable. This is highly customizable and ties into that agility that we talked about before. Pre-packaged, pre-built components. We are talking about weeks of implementations and not months or up to a year, what you have seen before. And I know it's coming in a use case later where you see the difference of speed to your customers because of this pre-packed integration capability.
That's a great video that covered a demo that captured all of these technologies: SAP, Salesforce, Cloud for M acceleration, and Enosix. And this next case study is going to capture that integrated solution as well. But before I get to the case study, just a reminder, please submit your questions. We'll cover them at the end. If you have any questions or comments, we'll address it at the end for a Q&A. So feel free to jump in there. All right. Talking about a case study. So we have an example case study that we worked with, a process manufacturer that had grown over the years through many acquisitions and had many systems throughout the world to run their business. And like we heard on that research of the voice of the customer, they really just wanted to simplify their overall business because they had grown so many companies through acquisition. They couldn't continue to acquire just because of how complicated it was to run their business. And so they looked at, how do we consolidate and upgrade our SAP back office, which I won't cover today in this session. I'll focus on the front end. But as we heard, the big push was to really how to be easier to do business with. And because not only will that help them with their current business and drive more revenue, it would allow them to set up themselves to continue to acquire and build new businesses. Because if you're so complicated to drive, it's hard to add a new business area if you don't have the systems and the processes set up for that. All right, so let's get to the solution. So the solution, just like the demo, encapsulated all of the things that we talked about today, right? They'd already had leveraged SAP, went to the upgrade. They already used Salesforce in one of their divisions and decided to standardize. And so when Deloitte won the work, it was part of our helping to show the accelerator that Leor talked about, Cloud for M, Cloud for Manufacturing, where we come with journeys right out of the box, use cases to help you get started. But we also look to leverage the benefit of Enosix, and that being able to integrate with the legacy SAP, but also then the transition to S4. And so in the past, many companies had said, well, hold off, we're just upgrading your back office. And once we're done with that, then we'll get with driving this front office upgrade. Well, just like you've heard the trends, all this acceleration and this digital acceleration are forcing companies to think differently. And in this way, they were open to actually doing these in parallel. And not only were they doing it in parallel, it also helped by doing some of the front office capabilities and getting a win early. It would help to bring and build buy-in into the overall digital transformation. So if you look at the rollout chart that we did here, so for the first release of SAP, which was super aggressive in getting out there just over a year, which is phenomenal for the size of the company and very fast. But because of using the acceleration business tool, Cloud for M, Enosix with Salesforce, we were also able to get them in just over 6 months, a rollout of a mix of Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and B2B commerce, an MVP out in just over 6 months. And what's interesting, that also aligned with the overall design with the SAP. So you could get the benefits of that holistic global rollout, but also get an early win. And that early win tied into the existing SAP. And then later, when the new SAP S4 first release, because of the Enosix integration, it allowed for a simplified, what was built with the Salesforce clouds was put behind the wall of Enosix and made it much easier then to swap over to the S4. So it was a huge benefit in getting those wins out early and helping with the overall design. So no longer do you have to say, we're doing our back office, come back when we're done to upgrade our front office. You can do both at the same time. And here's a great set of tools that will help you do that. So
Paul, just Enosix is really great here. And certainly your accelerator, as we talked about earlier, helps, especially because it takes a lot of work out. It provides lots of clues for what to do. But, at least 40%, sometimes more, of all the development on e-commerce projects is dedicated to integrations. And, I'll never forget first meeting Gerald, because on the one hand, probably 50, 60% of all of our B2B commerce customers use SAP. So it is a common pattern. Everybody does it. I know Deloitte's done it in sort of a one-off fashion tons of times. But the other hand is that it is a challenge that a lot of companies deal with. Oftentimes, there's not a lot of robust staffing around ERP, tuning, config. Sometimes teams don't really know what to change. And other times they're just really busy with things like upgrades and migrations, et cetera. So Enosix not only de-risks that integration that's kind of necessary, but it even opens up more capabilities. So you can actually start to do some configuration of products in the front end, because Enosix is really finely tuned to perform in that kind of a motion. So it's a great addition to this kind of a project, especially when your IT teams are busy.
Yeah, that's great points, Andy. Thanks for jumping in. And so right now we're going to jump to Leor is going to lead us in some Q&A here. So Leor?
Good. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Gerald. Thanks, Andy, for the sharing the information. This case study that Paul described is probably as close to free lunch as available out there in the marketplace, by allowing you to integrate your existing platform while you're doing the upgrades and get quick wins. Hopefully that came across as such. Of course, there's always efforts on the business side and the client side, but it's definitely was a great success story. So there's a couple of queues. Anybody on anything in the queue there? Otherwise, I have a couple of questions in my queue.
Go ahead, Leor.
Okay. So one question I have, I think, Gerald, that'll be for you. It said, you mentioned in the video that the work was done in a few weeks. How is it possible? Gerald?
Well, as Deloitte, we truly believe in the company that shouldn't start from scratch with integration, right? We know the most common scenarios when it comes to Salesforce and SAP, as Andy said, like typically 40, 50, 60% of money goes in integration and thinking about how to even get to that data. So we really believe in taking that away. So what we built is not just a communication framework and a platform for integration with SAP that's purpose-built to fit Salesforce and SAP, the technology stacks, but we pre-packaged the most common integration scenarios together with Salesforce, together with Deloitte. Product that's highly customizable, that's configurable, and so we're doing that for a lot of RIOs, right, with a lot of international companies, and we're getting really good at it. Like, let's put it that way. As Andy said, like, those are scenarios that are coming over and over and over, and those accelerators that we have for those prepackaged components, they typically cover 70-80% and match what's needed by those companies. So when we install, and after a couple of days of configuration, we actually can show live out of Cloud4M and Salesforce to the business already their data and their customers. And you guys know how difficult that always is, right? You do first show and tell. It's not the customer's product data. It's not their customer data. It's not their pricing, and they're confused. And this way, you can literally, after 2-3 days, do a business blueprint and the gap analysis and say, okay, what's missing? And you can show a customer's 360-degree view after a couple of days in the blueprint session. You can show an order creation, a basket, a product information with ATP, because all of that is out of the box. Do we know that SAP systems are highly customized and there might be special coding there and enhancements and custom fields? Yes, the system is built for that because we built it as SAP engineers, but made it fit to the Salesforce frontend. And that's why we can start implementations that quickly and really shift from a traditional waterfallish process to a more agile process in rolling out features and functionality to the customers as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I think we have just time for one more. There's a few questions around the case study, Paul, but actually, I think nothing's still a story about the success by another case study. And Andy, maybe you can share something around other clients, similar case studies that you've seen in your space.
Sure, absolutely, Leor. You know, we get asked all the time, like, you know, how does this really work? How do we really achieve the benefits? Is it like we turn on B2B commerce and our sales just go up, or what's the mechanics? And you know, I think there's a really good example of this, and we've got some of the data in the story posted on Salesforce.com actually. But one of our customers, a company called Motorola Video Analytics, they sell video cameras and really advanced processing software and equipment globally through a network of dealers. They grew like a lot of other companies, introducing lots of new products and services over the years, and got to a point where, you know, they found that for certain order types, they had as many as 30 different steps where orders had to be touched in some way, intervened on internally, just to make sure the pricing was right, the data was right, everything's accurate before you set the order and ship it. And so they came together with Salesforce and all the tools and technologies we're talking about today, and did a pretty detailed discovery around their quote to cash process, including self-serve motions, including what sales reps were doing, et cetera. And by pulling the things together, getting more data upfront from the customer using, you know, refined B2B commerce, giving the reps some tools so that they're doing the configurations right when it's a physical purchase product. And they were able to take, you know, 30 steps down to one. They were able to get to a position where they can now process really complex, huge orders with hundreds of different ship tos and bill tos, all in a touchless kind of fashion. And that's really by targeting discrete flows with discrete kind of segments. Now that you've got all this great data and information in the system of engagement of Salesforce, we could use it to that end to really streamline the steps. And honestly, simply that motion, getting to focus on ease of doing business and taking steps out, that will result in sales increase just by making yourself easier to do business with. Almost always, that's actually the most effective marketing campaign you can run. So you get savings, real dollar, hard dollar savings, because you reduce effort, manual interventions by optimizing some of these processes. And you could also increase your sales, either with promotional efforts, new products, or just by being easier to work with.
Perfect. Well, we just ran out of time. So first, I want to thank the panel, Paul, Andy, and Gerald, for joining us today and sharing the information. We also very clear that this is a complex topic, and we touched on business accelerator technology, case studies. There's obviously a lot more details. We'd be happy to connect with you guys via emails or discussions, Zoom or otherwise. We are beginning to make face-to-face connections, which is nice again. But again, I want to thank you for your time. I'll offer you our contact information if you want to get additional details on the case studies, the technologies, or some of the project details. Looking forward to talking to you in the future, and have fun the rest of the day. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Much appreciate it.